Doctor Who has given us countless Dalek stories over the years, some iconic and some not so much. But what if I told you there was once a Dalek story written by the first ever woman to ever pen a Doctor Who script, and it never made it to screen? A story about child soldiers, fascism, and a single Dalek manipulating an entire civilization. This is the tale of Barbara Clegg's The Elite, one of Doctor Who's greatest Unmade Dalek stories. Barbara Clegg is most known to Doctor Who fans for writing the 1983 Peter Davison story, Enlightenment. It's an ambitious and beautiful story about a yacht race in space, and it's also the final story in the Black Guardian trilogy. It's a unique story for being the first ever Doctor Who story written and directed by a woman. This wouldn't occur again until Jodie Whittaker's era with the 2018 episode The Witchfinders. During the process of writing Enlightenment in 1982, Barbara submitted 3 story outlines to script editor Eric Sayward. The first, a story called The Underworld, and it was set in ancient Greece. In an underground city, alien creatures called Haydens are abducting young women in order to repopulate their civilization after their race became unable to reproduce. In the second story, the Doctor investigates a rogue TARDIS lost in time, uncovering a surreal nightmare of reversed reality, hidden monsters, and a Time Lord named Agent who has suppressed his humanity to become a computer. But her most interesting outline, titled The Elite, featuring the Daleks. During this concept, the Doctor is said to be travelling with just one unnamed companion, so for the purpose of this video, I've chosen Tegan, since she appears in almost all of the Fifth Doctor's era. And also she's Australian, so I have a bias. The Doctor and Tegan arrive on a distant alien world, only to find themselves inside a cold, underground city. It's not long before they are captured and brought before the ruling council, a trio of intense, emotionless young adults known as the Elite. The entire society revolves around turning each citizen into a super intelligent being, all in preparation for a never-ending war. Emotions and feelings are banned. So when the Doctor casually offers someone a chocolate bar, it's enough to get him labelled as a criminal. The Doctor and his friends are rescued by General Orban, a military leader who turns out to be just 12 years old. All this theoretical preparation for war seems pointless in practice when the 12-year-old faints at the sight of blood from a pinprick. The children are only used to simulations of war, not the real thing. Meanwhile, Tegan is cast out to the surface, a dangerous wasteland inhabited by apparent dangerous savages. But in reality, these outcasts are actually former citizens, thrown out for failing the city's harsh computing standards. Tegan works alongside them to attack the High Priest of Power, but he's not just some ordinary shady official. He is a lone Dalek who was stranded on this planet years ago, secretly guiding events for his own ends. His plan? Let the humans wipe each other out so he can harvest the best minds and use them to build a ship to return them home to Skaro. Ultimately, this story wasn't chosen to be commissioned and remains as a what if. Fortunately though, the story was adapted into a Big Finish audio in 2011, based on the original outline by Barbara Clegg. John Dorney does an incredible job at translating her vision in an audio-friendly way. It has also been highly received across the internet by fans, and as soon as I listened to it for the first time, I could see why. There are some differences to her original outline. Director Ken Bentley had this to say: "The original outline was specifically written around a world that was run by and dominated by young people, but very young people. One of the key characters, Auburn, was supposed to be played by a 12-year-old. Writer John Dorney made a major push for this. "We couldn't really have 12-year-olds with guns blasting away and shooting everyone, so we had to age them all up." In the original, to break them from control, the Doctor offered them balloons and fairy floss, which doesn't exactly work with 20-year-olds. Therefore, a different, more bloodthirsty approach was taken for the audio. John Dorney felt like this was appropriate for the era because the Sayward era was full of a lot more blood and guts. In the original discussion, the reveal of the Dalek was to be at the end of episode 3, but they changed it to be the end of episode 2 in order to leave some room for Dalek action, which ultimately didn't happen. Instead, they decided to kill the Dalek off at the end of episode 3. John Dorney explains that
it's not the shell of the Dalek, and it's not their weapon, and it's not the way they talk that's frightening, it's what they represent, and the fact that we could quite easily become that.
Because ultimately, the story is about how ordinary people can become fascists. The Daleks are commonly discussed about how they represent the Nazis and fascists, something Terry Nation, the creator, had said was the inspiration for them. But John Dorney felt like the Daleks turning others into fascists isn't something the show had really explored, but does so here. I think one of the things that separates the usual Big Finish audios and the Lost Stories range is that this range sometimes feels like a lot more authentic to the original program. This can be a good thing and a bad thing, depending on the type of Doctor Who you like to consume and why. For some, like myself, I like Big Finish to expand on the original program and to delve into the TV companions deeper and broaden the retrospective eras. Others want a more authentic recreation of the show, where it feels like a classic 4-part story that would have been commissioned and produced at the time. I think that Big Finish proves that there is room for both approaches, and there is a sense of coming home, a sense of nostalgia to this approach in the Lost Stories range. The Fifth Doctor's era is filled with in-TARDIS drama, and the Doctor and Tegan bickering is in full force in this story, and I just love it. One of the issues of adapting these unmade scripts is that they generally have larger casts, which isn't really a problem on television, but once it's just audio, it can sometimes be difficult to remember and maintain that many voices and characters in your head at once. This might be a story for a more seasoned Big Finish listener. I feel like I managed to keep up throughout the whole story, but once every now and then, I kind of caught myself thinking who was who. But I do really recommend listening to this adaptation by Big Finish. I think it'll give you a really good insight to what this story would have been like. And plus, I just think it's a really good story in general. I think one of the major reasons why this story excited me is because it's so different to the typical classic series Dalek story. Especially by this point in the series, where you couldn't tell a Dalek story without Davros taking over the plot. So it was interesting to see the Daleks be used so unusually. Just a single Dalek and how it uses its power to control an entire city. I also like how it explores the themes of fascism and how easy it is to manipulate people into falling into it. It's kind of scary. And I like when the Daleks are scheming rather than being just a massive war force. They have a real menace to them. I think Power of the Daleks and Evil of the Daleks demonstrates this at their best. Not only do you get to see the scheming side of the Daleks, but you also get a massive battle at the end too. So you kind of get your cake and eat it too. You get the best of both worlds. It's interesting that this story doesn't give you that. It doesn't give you a massive Dalek battle at the end of it, especially because the Dalek gets killed off so early on. So I really admire Barbara Clegg for writing something that is so different. And after this many years in Doctor Who, I like to see a different take on the Daleks. I think when we're speculating why this story didn't get made, there are a few points that come to mind for me. First of all, there was the loose Davros overarching plot involving the Renegade Daleks and the Imperial Daleks, which was spread throughout Eric Saward's time on the show and even picked up by Andrew Cartmel when he took over during the 7th Doctor's era. So maybe the idea of a solo Dalek story was just not the vision for the Daleks that Eric Saward had. During the 5th Doctor's era, there were moments of darkness, but the idea of child soldiers might have been a stretch too far for this time period. Barbara Clegg explained her thoughts in Doctor Who magazine issue 267, saying,
"Somehow, I just knew I was never going to write for the series again. I don't know why. I showed these ideas to my eldest, who's home at the moment, and said, 'Darling, just quickly flip through them. Are they so awful that I can't show them?' He said, 'No, Mother, they're good. It's a very sexist remark, but I'm not too sure if men involved in science fiction are awfully keen on women being involved. Women's approach to sci-fi is slightly different, perhaps more into the mythical approach and relationships.
Enlightenment is one of the most beloved stories from the Fifth Doctor's era, and you can tell her perspective on Doctor Who is different to what other writers have delivered for the show, and I think that's a good thing. And this is why there is such a huge cry out for diverse writers from different backgrounds, because with a show going on for 60 plus years, trying to find new ideas from the same set of people can be kind of boring. This show has limitless possibilities, and to hear from people who see the show differently from different perspectives is exciting and should be welcomed with open arms. But of course, there is always going to be a subsection of fans who want the show to remain exactly how it was in 1978. They want the exact same stories they've seen a million times, told in the exact same way over and over again. And I think there's no issue in wanting something like that, but I think there is room for something new. If the show just created the Doctor versus the Daleks every week, and we never had an enlightenment, I think the show would be poorer because of it. And I personally think Doctor Who would benefit greatly from more female voices. The Elite may never have made it to television, but its survival as a Big Finish story proves how powerful Unmade Doctor Who can still be. It's not just another Doctor versus Daleks shootout, it's a thoughtful exploration of fascism, individuality, and control, seen through the unique perspective of Barbara Clegg. And honestly, it makes you wonder how different Doctor Who's history might have looked if more writers like her had been given a chance. But what do you think? Could The Elite have worked as a TV story back in the 1980s, or does it work better as the lost tale it has become? Let me know in the comment section below. Hey everyone, this video is actually really special and important for me because this video marks one whole year of weekly uploads. This time last year, a really big change happened in my life and it was a really stressful thing. But this YouTube channel has really been a saving grace for me. It has helped me in my journey of rebuilding my self-esteem, which was really at an all-time low. This goal of weekly uploads was something I wasn't really sure I'd be able to do. I'm still not entirely sure if I'll be able to keep on top of it, but I am so thankful for your support. And this YouTube channel has been a very helpful distraction in some really dark moments I've had in this past year. I'm in a much better place now than I was a year ago. I'm not a spiritual person, but I do try to look out for signs and listen to what the universe is trying to tell me. And this channel really started to pick up when I needed it the most. When I was at my lowest, my YouTube was at its highest. And I'm taking that as a sign, and I'm really thankful for this gift, and I'm thankful to you, dear listener. I'm thankful for your comments and your support, and words really can't describe how much this has helped me in so many ways. So thank you. And like always, don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Josh Snares YouTube channel.